Perfect, perfect. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to LiT Lite, AI Adoption in Tech Organizations. Before we start, we already started the recording, so just for you to know, because we want to keep, of course, this conversation for other colleagues, for other acquaintances, for them to get this knowledge. Before we start, I would like to invite you. I don't know now. I would like to invite you to ask or upvote your questions into the link that Bülent posted into the chat. Of course, you can specify the name of the panelists. So you can say, okay, for Raluca, for Dragos, for Lavinia, for Bülent. And of course, also optional, you can specify your name, but again, optional. Yeah, so this discussion actually started 2 weeks ago when we were at Google with Leaders in Tech event. We had a room full of engineering leaders. And actually, the conversation was supposed to last 20 minutes in Q&A, and it lasted more than double. Of course, the topic was really interesting. The feedback was really, really good. So then we decided, okay, let's have this conversation again. Let's have this conversation online, just to make sure that we can accommodate lots of people and we are not narrowed by the capacity of the room. So today we are having communities also from Cluj, from Iași, from our newborn communities, from Chișinău, I think, as well from Morocco. So welcome everyone and thank you for joining. Yeah, so this conversation won't be about the tools. It will be about how engineering organizations actually change when AI becomes part of the way we build products, we build services, we build platforms. So I'm really happy to invite you, again with us Bülent. Bülent is our co-founder at Leaders in Tech and strategist at the Decide and Move. We also have Lavinia Neagoe with us, chapter lead Romania at Women in Tech and Engineering Director at Google and volunteer in our Leaders in Tech community. Raluca Minea from Microsoft, she's Principal Engineering Manager. And today we also are joined by Dragos, who is the VP of Engineering at Adobe Experience Platform. Thank you all for being here with us today. Yeah, without prolonging my speech, I would like to invite on the stage Bülent, and he will start with a short overview of the industry. So how is the AI adoption looking like across the industry? Bülent, you have the stage.
Good morning, everyone. Yeah, so my invitation is to hang on to your coffees because from the experience 2 weeks ago, I have the most jam-packed slides. So, yeah, I'll start sharing. Of course, my role is as a strategy advisor is to help senior leaders and their companies stay relevant for the next 10 plus years, which is a very tough job given the amount and speed of information that is coming towards us, especially in this AI space. So in strategy, in product management, there is this insights triangulation thing. So we're doing, we triangulate insights to get to understand what is actually real in the context. And my role now is to distill this context a bit. So a bit of context engineering with you. There are lots of entities. There are lots of interests in this space. There are lots of sources. Because I'm following many of these sources. There are more than 20 high-quality sources daily that are published on various newsletters from conferences, research papers, consulting, AI labs, and so on. And of course, what we've seen during the past 3 years is that there is a coherent stack that has been developed. So behind the user-facing tools like Cloud Code, Replit, Lovable, Copilot, and all the others, there is this whole stack, multi-layered stack of layer one compute and foundation with the various models that are rapidly evolving in multiple parameters, compute infrastructure, inference and serving, various reinforcement learning through human feedback entities, model customization for fine-tuning, data storage, data pipelines for serving the data, and of course orchestration and tooling, how all these agents are exposed to the real world. So this was the most jam-packed slide. I'll go next. The other, as a curiosity, I started searching what is happening in Romania. Are various organizations hiring specifically roles related to the various layers in the stack that I was mentioning? And my surprise is that yes, there are many. Those are screenshots from the actual job ads from LinkedIn. But the essence of this slide is that most of the roles that are open now are in this category of AI solution engineers or AI engineers or agentic AI engineers that look like this. So I zoomed in into one of these job ads, which is, of course, you cannot read it in the 30 seconds I'm sharing it, but we will share the slides if you're curious. But the essence is that this is not a senior role or a principal engineer role. It's a mid-level role in an IT services company working in digital banking. And you are able to see, for example, that it's a role that is focused on layer 3 orchestration. So agentic frameworks, required understanding, experience preferred, but also good or very strong understanding from the other layers. And getting out of these AI engineering roles, in the wider software engineering roles, I picked these insights from the AI productivity surveying product teams from Lenny's newsletter. That comes with the main message that, okay, there is this main use case of writing code in software engineering teams, but there is an opportunity, like one of you asked, okay, how are we using as leaders AI to do our jobs better? There are many opportunities in other activities of the engineering teams, like in the right side, in documentation, in code review, in test debugging, and others. And I also selected from you, of course, there are many industry reports. There is this new AI capabilities report from DORA, from DevOps Research and Assessment, that shares 7 capabilities that or conditions that enable engineering teams to make good use of AI. And I will go very fast through them. On the policy side, so point 1, or governance in more fancy terms, having these clear policies about when to use, when not to use, what not to use, who decides what, and this kind of stuff to offer the psychological safety needed for effective experimentation and usage in teams. Then related to the data layer that I was mentioning in the second slide, there is this idea of, okay, how do you invest in developing healthy data ecosystems and AI accessible internal data for the teams and their agents? And then, of course, evolving the engineering practices like strong version control practices, working in small batches to counteract the risk of various AI-generated slops getting in there. And of course, continuing this user-centric focus, and here fellow product managers and product people, of course, have an important role, an important continued role to be in touch with the market, be in touch with the users, invite the engineering colleagues to get exposed to this user context to be able to create value, and also these quality internal platforms for which there are many platform teams that are working intensively. So this was my distilled version of with this message that our fellow guest speakers will share with you concrete practices and evolutions in their tech organizations. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Bülent. I think what you outlined very clearly is the scale of the shift, right, that we are seeing across the industry. And now, the real question, maybe for many organizations, is what happens when these ideas meet the day-to-day, right? So what happens in the reality of the engineering teams? So Raluca, from your perspective at Microsoft, how do you see AI adoption changing the way teams actually work? The stage is yours.
Thank you. Thanks, Vera. Thanks, Bülent. Okay, I'm gonna start a bit walking you through my experience here at Microsoft, because it's really relevant. I started in Microsoft like 2.5 years ago, soon after the ChatGPT, OpenAI launch, and everything happening around with the AI hype. There wasn't much we were doing aside from maybe bots for peer reviews and a few other tweaks here and there where AI was happening. Machine learning existed, obviously, and we were having algorithms for different scenarios. But we were trying. Sorry, someone interrupted. Okay, I'll continue. I don't think that was a question.
Yeah, please.
So we were trying to actually look at what AI will change for engineering organizations from the beginning, trying to understand where it will fit into our processes. Obviously, I'm part of Azure Core. For us, reliability, availability, everything that happens in the cloud world is a must. And we were looking at solving problems from that perspective. It took a year to start to have good models, and the actual improvement with reasoning model GPT 5 series and Claude Opus 4.5 and then later 4.6, we actually have seen improvements into how AI is able to generate code, not just beyond testing. Writing tests was the first scenario that we adopted, and then later we've seen it improve. We've seen models being specific for engineering tasks. So the thing I've tried to summarize on this slide specifically are some of our success stories. We're actually actively integrating spec-driven development into our processes now, and that means for us that we're writing less code, we're planning more, we're ideating with our Copilot, and it helps us decrease the development cycle. It helps us get feedback from our users faster. And most of our users, when I say users, in Azure, it might be counterintuitive, but they are internal customers, platform customers that are supporting whatever is visible outside in the Azure world. So that's where maintainability is a huge gain for us, and quick iterations. And then something else that really works for us is sharing the prompts working cross-organization, collaborating and improving, refining whatever prompts you're using for not just coding tasks, like I was saying, but monitoring. I was telling you earlier about an agent. What that does is actually looking at the reliability of our pipelines internally. And obviously, I'm pulling the details for my team. Everyone else should do the same thing. But it's important, as I was saying, reliability is one of the most important KPIs in cloud, in modern organizations. And then with these agents, I've mentioned prompt. We have this internal prompt coach agent in M365, and that is helping us writing better prompts. If you remember, like 2 years ago, prompt engineering was a thing. And probably, Bülent, if you would have searched for jobs 2 years ago, you would have seen jobs for prompt engineers. Now, last year, we started to hear about context engineering, and that's where spec-driven development comes into place. And then building skills, because you need to have context to actually know what to ask from your agents. And that's what skills actually do. They are a run book, or as we call it internally here, a troubleshooting guide for what to do in a certain scenario. And this is what a skill markdown file will do. And overall, it's not just skills. Now you'll have agents, MD, you'll have any other type of markdown. Markdown is the language of the AI nowadays. And the good thing there is that it's written in natural language. It's semantic, and it can be understood both by humans and by machines, by LLMs. And with these instructions, it's so much easier now to get the most out of any agent that you're going to build. We're starting now to build agents that are self-driven, not just agents that you can invoke in your IDE or what we were saying earlier. And we'll see that in the next slide when I'll go a bit deeper into one specific scenario. Something else that must change is to rethink the developer experience. That should be a strategy. So unless you put that at the front of whatever you decide in your workflows, then that won't happen. If one engineer uses AI in a team, that won't scale, we won't see much gain out of it. And then obviously for engineering organization, we're looking at increasing adoption for all teams. That's why developer experience overall is important. We need developers to be able to push changes to production, whether they were co-authored with AI or just planned with AI and then developed by someone. It depends from situation to situation, whether is workflow from our engineers that are on call, and they need to understand the telemetry and take actions and decisions based on what's happening in a telemetry. If you're on a bridge investigating a high severity incident, then you need to be able to access the data and you need to be able to take fast decisions, and the system must support you. And then the last thing here on the slide, there's the primitive of responsible AI. AI is here with us, it's augmenting us, but the primitive remains. Trust what it generates, but verify it. We don't have, and I foresee we won't have in the nearby future, self-sustaining agentic world. Human will remain in the loop, and we are there to verify whatever AI outputs. Okay, let me move to my next slide. And this is specifically on MCP servers, because from the last events that we were hosting or attending, we were hearing AI discussions are broad, but nothing tells you about specifics. And I wanted to actually tap on something that's really specific. MCP servers, why are they interesting? Because they provide context to LLMs. as you know, a model is trained on data in the past. It's trained on that, it's already trained, and then it will understand the context of your repository or your ecosystem. But if you want real-time data, then you need these connectors, these MCP servers that will be able to pull data from different sources in the organization. And we have different MCP servers. Like 6 months ago, we were having just a handful of MCP server to use internally. Now we have like tens of them. A broad range of MCP servers, but basically what they help you do is minimize context switching, stay in your IDE or in CLI nowadays, because Copilot, like Cloud and many other tools have moved to a CLI experience. And there you can just instruct your agent to pull data from telemetry, from different teams or emails, conversations, from different deployment pipelines, and take decisions and aggregate what's happening in your system. Why MCP server can scale? Because there's no maintenance, basically. There's no wrapper, no duplicate implementation, no different API wrappers. They are just connectors, and then your AI agent will know exactly how to invoke it, like maybe update a database or pull data through an API, and all with security in a safe manner, making sure that they'll impersonate your user. Whomever is invoking the agent will be there showing up as the user invoking that API call. Okay, so basically MCP server will help you get more context, consume less memory, because the agent won't assume a tool it can use. It will know for sure if you're telling it, invoke this MCP server to pull data from this database cluster, then it will know exactly where to look. Okay, and then I've left here some resources. The last one is important because we've seen vulnerabilities, we've seen remote code execution vulnerabilities happening. And then we have this sandbox environment where we can actually invoke agents now, but MCP server specifically, and that helps making sure that the impact or the blast radius is minimized. Okay, so I think someone was asking about lessons learned, and
Yeah.
So for us, as I was saying earlier, the best AI outcomes come from diverse teams, from collaborating engineers working closely with product managers, ideating over something that AI started to plan, and then deciding how to move forward. Designers, we have Figma, obviously, internally, and that has an MCP server as well, and it helps you create a mockup almost instantly. And then ethicists, because responsible AI is important in our day-to-day flows, and then obviously domain experts. Everyone working together will just improve whatever AI generates, and will be able to refine, understand, keep only the relevant things from the story. The lessons learned are, first, whatever you're doing as a leader, as a manager earlier, that won't change. Invest in people first, and then in technology second. And someone was asking about agents and what happens if they'll screw up. People can screw up the same way. And then obviously, what do? You just find a way to move forward from that situation. It will happen in the future as well. Whether an AI agent is there to help people, mistakes are a given. So invest in people, build trust, and just look forward. Build bridges, collaborate cross-functionally. It's most important with the AI tools now at hand. And then obviously stay curious, learn. The tools that we have today, they aren't perfect. They aren't the last mile. And then you can say like in the next 5 years, that's what you have. Go play with it, go use it. That's it, nothing else to learn. You learn something day by day in this new setup. And then obviously stay technical and pay it forward. Mentor engineers, help others grow and give back, something that I'm trying to do with this session. Okay, the next slide, probably my QR code expires, so don't try to scan this, but you can find me on LinkedIn, Raluca Minea.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you so much, Raluca. Really, really amazing the content you prepared. What I find interesting in what you described is how quickly, experimentation at the team level turns into questions about process, governance, scaling, security. So, Dragos, from your experience in building large systems, how do organizations move from experimentation to something that becomes part of the engineering operating model?
Yeah.
Dragos, you have the
Hello.
stage.
Good morning, everyone, and thanks for having me here. I know that a couple of weeks ago, there was the online session. Sorry, it was the physical session, and Chris Radu, our VP of Engineering and site leader, represented Adobe's journey in this AI transformation for engineering teams. I'm here to talk about this. Chris is out this week, and a lot of these things also happen across the board. I was really interested in hearing from Raluca the maturity and the journey that her team went through, and the Microsoft as a company is going through. It's really exciting. We've been in a similar journey. I would say that starting 24, 25. Engineers start having access to these tools. They start kind of leveraging the tools as part of their day-to-day. And we start seeing outside of the individual, let's say, experimentation, switching from, prompt engineering, libraries of prompts, moving into more like context engineering. We start seeing some patterns showing up. And I'm going to cover for some of these things. Happy Friday, everyone. This was my little change just before the presentation.
Love it.
But first one that I want to talk to, and this came out of one of my engineering teams, actually. They're working on a product. It's a solution that allows publishers exchange audiences in a privacy safe way with their advertisers. And these guys were working on a more complex workflow, and they start to put more formalization in how this workflow is happening. Across all the touch points of the, let's say, software engineering lifecycle, starting with how you formalize the spec and iterate on the spec, and how that then turns into architectures, decisions around that architecture piece, and testing as well as part of this initial phase. And code is kind of like it's coming later, and kind of follows suite of the full cycle. This is really good, and they managed to expand and attract the product managers, the designers, as well as part of this life cycle. So this was one of the, let's say, a more integrated end-to-end workflows that we start seeing emerging from that kind of individual experimentation, emerging in a more like a team end-to-end workflow. The other one on the right I want to mention is what we call internally ticket to PR. It can be applied in some cases. This was one case where a team which is responsible, let's say, for a service is a catalog, a very central service, critical for our infrastructure as part of the experience platform. And they were getting a lot of tickets from internal teams. Just to give you a sense, it's like maybe 150 other teams which have dependencies on this central, really critical service. And these tickets usually resulted in additional, let's say, a bit of coding, some configurations, additional testing, and kind of rolling out those integrations with the internal teams. And they came up with these integrated workflows where tickets were being picked up from our Jira tracker automatically. A lot of the pipeline was triggered where all the code changes were generated, plus the configuration changes tested have been run. And then the human in the loop comes in where there's a PR that they can review and integrate, and then the integration just works for the new team. So they managed to kind of shorten up a workflow that might have taken maybe 2 weeks now into potentially hours to get it out there. So this was a real, a similarly interesting use case, which got us thinking like what other cases where this ticket to PR integrated workflow can come into place. And all of these kind of things that started to emerge from the individual going into a team, Chris was really pushing for us, saying like, hey, we have to maybe come up with some ways to support all teams to go through the journey and come up with a way to rate themselves and evaluate where they are in that journey. This is really, I would say, Chris' benefit for pushing for us to get there. So AI Elevate scorecard came out of that conversation we had as a leadership engineering leadership organization. So we came up with a way to enable teams to rate themselves on two main verticals, software development or operations, and rate themselves where they are in this cycle. So it's no longer about that individual, as Raluca was saying earlier. It's now about a team play. And I'll go a bit off script because why not? Okay, let me show you how it looks like. So any team that comes in, they see this, let's say this app. I want to rate myself on the software development. Let's say Dragos, a team of 1 for now. I actually built this a couple of days ago. I have the code base here. Let's say Cloud Code. Okay, I want to use another internal tool called Deploy Doctor. And then you go through this self-assessment. You start on the architecture and design, and you kind of rate this for your team as an engineering leader, like, hey, where I am in this cycle, right? I'm on a basic or intermediate. So again, keep in mind this is self-assessment. It gives you some hints on how to interpret what your team does. You go to the next one, which is around the development and coding, similar approach, let's say a basic, and then like testing and quality, I'm on intermediate one. Code review as well. By the way, on the code review side, we've seen more teams adopting earlier. Before this came is like how we use these integrated workflows. There was one tool called Ugly CI that emerged, and people start using it in their pipelines. Anyway, and this is the self-assessment. But the interesting part is because this is also an education tool. Again, it's not about competition between teams. It's a competition with yourself. How you raise yourself on these vectors from where you are and go into a more advanced state. And then you can start reading, right? This provides some guidance for your team members, saying like, hey, you should be reading about these things, you potentially to move from where you are to the next level, and similar for others, for other parts. So okay, so this was my quick off the script. And last but not least, it's not only about the engineering, of course. There are many other functions. I mentioned earlier product managers and designers kind of coming into this game, but Going into the program management side, we really have some strong leaders and thought leaders, I would say, on the program management side. They were early adopters of Cursor and a lot of the, let's say, MCPs in various tools in the company, and they start coming up with libraries of prompts and now evolving into the skills where they are able to basically track progress against milestones. They were able to also do some interesting, I would say, more advanced workflows, going to actually correlated changes at the code base level with the actual tickets which are being tracked, and kind of coming with these summaries. And at the end of the life cycle, before releasing, you can come up with release notes and other things that could turn into documentation as well. I think this is where I see program management stepping up a lot and kind of driving this conversation forward and these integrated workflows. Human in the loop is important, as Raluca was saying earlier as well, because once you start putting this content in front of the customers, I mean, it's really critical to make sure that everything that's being written is not kind of slopeware generated. And again, someone was asking at the beginning of the meeting, like, do you have like other cases where this doesn't work? Yes, I've seen people which don't take the responsibility to also do a bit of a review, and suddenly you end up in your inbox maybe with, I don't know, a PDF of 16 pages, auto-generated content, and I'm asking, like, why are you sending me this? Yeah, you took like maybe 2-3 minutes to generate it, but do you expect me to read it? You didn't do the kind of the due diligence. I want to also apply some due diligence in how you generate content and where and how it's being used as well. And the last example here around the customer support, we realized that there are ways to support our organization that gets tickets from customers and so on, and we start coming up with ways where their view as a customer support engineer is augmented with a lot more information that gives you the ability, based on past tickets or based on additional information, to take faster decisions and do the right thing for the customers. So I say this area is also just starting right now. There are some more interesting explorations being done, but maybe this should be the topic for another session in the future. This is my presentation. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dragos. That's a very good idea, right? Looking forward to the next presentation, and it sounds like an amazing topic. I love the live demo. I heard from last time, I heard lots of people discussing about the tool, and now seeing it live, it really makes a difference. So thank you so much for that. What becomes very clear is that AI adoption quickly becomes more than a technical conversation, right? So it becomes a leadership or an organizational question. Lavinia, from your perspective, working with engineering leaders and communities, how do you see the leaders navigating through this shift?
Yeah, so let's look a bit about that, because we have seen some great examples from Raluca and Dragos. Let's see where the companies are at this moment. So I would say there are three different buckets, right? Main buckets, where first you have the companies that are driving the AI wave. These are like the big companies developing the models, investing big in building the models, OpenAI, Google, Anthropic, right? And they have big investments in infrastructure and building the models, training the models. They have already adopted widely, right, into their software development lifecycle, the tooling. Again, the products, you already see their products incorporating agentic behavior. So I would say here there is a very steep adoption and learning curve. So from personal experience, I can tell you it was very top down. And practically, in my mind, there was no choice, right? We're selling these products, we might as well use them, right? So so a very, very steep adoption and learning curve. Then there are the companies that let's say have been developing in a traditional way. Maybe some of them are not technology companies, but of course, as any company, they rely heavily on technology at this point, and practically they are looking at adopting AI, and here they are looking at adopting and speeding up their productivity in terms of the software development life cycle, but also in terms of competing and having a competitive product and incorporating that into the product. I think here these companies have a big opportunity, and the big opportunity is to be able to choose, actually, right? So if you work for Microsoft, if you work for Google, you don't have the option to choose necessarily very much your tooling. You have to test the company's products. These are the ones that you're using. There is this benefit of being able to choose the technology stack, to try different things, see what works best for your use case. And we've seen some great examples here from Dragos, for example, right? And then there are the AI natives companies. The AI natives, these are starting from scratch with a new tooling. It's no technical depth, nothing to migrate, right? So I would say that they have a big advantage, right? And these can be actually the companies that become the new unicorns with very small teams. Even, right, there is this theory of the one-person show team, right, where you have a team of agents, you're orchestrating them, and based on that, you can actually do an extremely valuable product. And we've seen with the hackathon with Lovable, right, what can be done actually with AI with a one-person team. Then let's see. Let's move a bit and see what it's actually happening behind the scenes, right? And for me, this is very important. The mindset shift. The mindset shift that we all need to make. We made it. Some of us are in the process, or we will be in the process of this mindset shift. And it's important to understand our teams. And I guess there was a question earlier about how do you assess where the teams are in terms of their motivation. And I think it's very important to acknowledge that there is fears. There is fears of job reduction. There is fear of learning a completely new technology. There is the fear of this faster than ever changing pace that you cannot keep up with. And I think here very important is to understand what is in our control, right? First of all, is the level of awareness, like being aware that the world is changing, and you cannot ignore how people are creating their software now, right? It's creating software using AI. It's a different paradigm. You cannot ignore that from this moment onwards. So moment of awareness, then there is the part of accepting. Yes, there are going to be job reductions. There are going to be job changes, right? Transformations. But let's look at what are the things in our control, right? If the job transforms, what is my best chance, right, in this setup? It's actually to learn, adopt the tooling, and be there, ride the wave, I would say, and instead of right, pushing back. And here, for example, you have some levers, I would say. I was mentioning the part earlier when one of the levers is you have some degrees of freedom in choosing the technology, in choosing the tooling. New ways of learning. What AI brings new is new ways of learning, and new ways of being mentored, being coached. So these are all at our disposal and in our control. And I think that we should create visibility with our teams about those, and look into using these tools that we have. A mindset shift, a big mindset shift, I would say, is the one on how we build. If a few years ago I would have come to a meetup like this and said, we need to build for long term, and we need to build extremely stable platforms that will last for years, right? And will serve us for years. I'm not saying that it's 100% different, but there is a nuance to it. And the nuance is that now we have to build for this fast pace of change. And I think the way we build should be much more modular, much more adaptable and flexible. And I will give you here a very good example, in the sense of last year, Google released several models, right, of Gemini. In the application that I work, the Fitbit application, we incorporated these models, and we had to upgrade, right, each time a new model was coming up. Previously, I would say that a change like this would have taken us a long time, and it wouldn't have been something that we think of like changing models 4 times per year. But now this is something that we need to build for, right? The models are changing, the tooling is changing. Let's think about plug and play solutions. Let's think about reusable components much more than we were doing previously. Okay, looking at the software development lifecycle transformation, I would say here there are some big, very important decisions, right? There is the return of investment decision. And I think based on what Raluca has said, based on what Dragos, Bülent have said earlier, and we have seen the proliferation of tooling and what other companies are doing. The question of, does it worth making the investment? I feel it's a no-brainer at this point, right? Definitely makes sense to make the investment. And I have here an example, but there are several of companies that haven't realized this big technology wave change at the right moment, and they either become completely irrelevant or much less relevant than they were before. And the example is for Toys R Us, the company that 15 years ago was the top of the market in the US for selling toys. And then when the e-commerce wave came in, they outsourced completely this to Amazon. And now, after a few years, when they finally thought that, it would be a good idea to keep our brand and to go into the e-commerce business, it was very hard for them to catch up with what was happening across 10 years on the e-commerce market. And they are not, right, the top provider for the US right now, for a big market as the US. Actually, their share, it's much, much smaller. Right, so not taking this opportunity of riding the wave and riding along with the wave, it has costed them a big part of their business. So other decisions that we have at hand, it's the build versus buy. Build versus buy, I don't think things change here much, right? From the perspective of the focus continues to be on building your business differentiators, right? And whatever it's supporting your business differentiator, this is something that you buy, you take from outside. But the very important thing here is the fast decision-making process. And in the fast decision-making process, I would say, even I would go to the point that a bad decision, it's actually better than no decision, because you actually go into the fail fast mode, right? So you make a decision with the information that you have at hand, with the context that you have at hand. If you fail, it was a fail fast, and it gets you actually to where you want it to be, rather than taking no action and losing an opportunity. And for the software development lifecycle, very important here, it's the mindset shift around our organizations and how we structure our organization. Teams become leaner with the AI adoption. We mentioned, Raluca was mentioning all the agents that she's using, right? So one individual becomes a force multiplier, becomes an architect and a coordinator, and engineers need to be more and more autonomous than previously, right? They need to focus on these coordination skills. Now, I would say that for autonomous engineers, there is a question mark. How do we get there faster, right? Because from school to becoming a senior engineer faster, we haven't pushed on that before, but that's our challenge. That's our opportunity as well, right? So maybe things like understanding systems architecture, making that happen earlier in the career would get us there. Okay, but also let's look at the product, right? We looked at the software development lifecycle. Let's look at the product vision as well. From a product perspective, I would say there is a big mindset shift in terms of who owns the responsibility for being the product owner of the team. Of course, we have the product management function, and they remain responsible for the vision of the product. But at the same time, I would say that responsibility amplifies, and it becomes the responsibility of the entire team, because you have the tools at your hand right now to deep dive into the use cases for your users and have a strong opinion and a strong view about the users that you care about. And this happens because we increase productivity, we increase velocity. So it means that the cost of development becomes cheaper. And this means that you will be able to also look at the long tail use cases, the cases that you didn't think they would be economically feasible before to address. But now with the speed up and increase of productivity, they are. So this is why everyone on the team can wear the product owner hat and look at specific use cases, specific customers that they care about most. Okay, I think I've provided this overview of what happens in each and every type of company, where the SDLC shift happens, where the product vision happens, the transformation happens. And I think from this moment, my invitation for you is to acknowledge that the wave is here and take it.
Excellent. Excellent. Those are great words, Lavinia. Thank you so much. Great presentation as well. AI is an organizational change, right? That touches the engineering practices, product thinking, the way leaders decide to help their team evolve. We heard today different type of angles, right? From the industry trends to what happens inside the teams, the challenging to scaling this across the organization, the leadership part and the culture, how things are changing. It becomes clear that nobody has all the answers, right? None of us has all the answers, but we have different type of experiences that we are ready to share. And actually, this is how we learn, right? This is how we evolve together by having this type of conversations. So thank you so much again. Unfortunately, we don't have that much time left for questions. And if you can stay 5 or 10 minutes more, that would be amazing. At least to try to accommodate maybe 5 questions from the list. And probably we need to keep it short, right? But for sure, all your questions, right? Lots of them, I saw them in the chat, in the Slido. They will help us with the next events, right? So we learn what you need from the community, and we're going to try our best to put it into further events. Cool. So let's start with the first question.
So Alex, if you want to voice it, please.
Yes, of course. So my question was for Raluca, but after writing it, I realized that it's for the full panel. But I don't.
Keep it short, please.
You decide if that. Yeah. The question is, where does AI add most value now, and where do humans add most value now? The follow-up would be, what's your best guess for the next 5 to 10 years on this axis? Thanks.
Take your unmute.
Okay. So where AI adds more value now? Obviously, from what we've heard, and there's also been the pragmatic engineering summit like 3-4 weeks ago. The forum was across the line for all participants there as well, because we've had someone from Microsoft join, and we got the summary. We've kind of nailed the coding generation part. We kind of nailed the testing generation part. So there's no blocker in actually having a good test coverage for our repositories, generating code for new features, fixing bug. And I've seen, actually, this is something new that I didn't share. We had someone in the Windows organization demoing a really cool thing this week internally, where they just took a windy bug memory dump, and with Copilot, they were able to actually fix a bug in Windows. And if you don't know, bugs in Windows are hard to fix. They are in legacy C, C++ code and so on. So obviously we nailed the coding generation part. We nailed having a good quality, code quality. The next step that will continue to be human heavy for the next years is how do we monitor, how do we make sure that we're deploying safely to production, keeping the ring-based approach and having the option of rollbacking fast if anything happens. And if you've seen the news, Amazon experienced some outages in the past week because they shipped code generated with AI. So they're moving to a sign-up, even for the most senior engineers, to a sign-up model where everything needs to be human reviewed. So in platform organization, at least, I think this will remain. Signing up for anything that will ship to production will remain heavily human in the next year. Keeping it short.
Thank you so much, Raluca.
All right, the next question from Vlad, if you're still here.
Yeah, I can ask
Please, Vlad.
Adoption has become a no-brainer, as Lavinia has put it. Everybody is adopting it or playing with it. The question would be how you currently measure the productivity or value brought by it, because various, let's say, companies measure it in different ways, starting from how people respond to surveys, up to different metrics, and probably way up to being a native organization, in which case probably you don't even have to measure anymore because it's obvious. I'm curious how you currently measure the productivity brought by AI augmentation in your teams.
So Vlad, this is an amazing question. I think we actually had a big conversation. All of us. Very good question, I would say. It's yeah. So I think if you look at how we measure productivity until now, right, until this moment, I would say that even that was arguable, right? In the traditional way of developing things, measuring productivity wasn't something that everyone aligned up to this point to the same type of metrics. And I think it's valid for AI as well. And I can tell you that yes, there is a lot of measurement in terms of how much people are interacting with the tools, how many trainings they are attending, maybe things like also there is this type of as we were seeing earlier, right? Maturity level, like in what parts of the software development lifecycle have you adopted, and how have you speeded those specific areas, right? How many bugs you are fixing now versus 1 year ago, since you adopted the agent that is now proposing the changes, right? how many bug triages, bugs are being triaged daily in customer support using the AI tooling, and how that compares to what previously has been done. But I would say that for feature development, it's much harder from that perspective, and it's more about each leader looking at their team and understanding if and seeing if the pace of delivery and the feature throughput it's actually better than before. For my team, for example, I have analyzed this because I have been with the same team for a longer period of time, and it's easier for me to assess, for example, this part. But a big program that we delivered, for example, in 2 years, it was possible last year in 9 months. So similar program. So I would say that, yes, you can definitely see that, but it's hard to measure. I don't question that it's hard to measure. And I think it's specific to each team, most probably. What's that feature throughput that you want to get to? But it would be, in my advice, it should be outcome based, right? Meaning like value based, right? What's the additional value that you're bringing?
Thank you.
I think just to add on what Lavinia is saying, we're seeing like empirical observations for some teams which get regular project which you would think would last maybe months, getting them shortened. So that's more like an empirical observation. I think we should definitely stay away from anything like counting, code lines or code bases. I think that's not the way. It has to be anchored on the value of the outcome. But also, I would say you can also look at some other indexes. I think Dora metrics was mentioned by Bülent, but like indexes around quality, right? Around the incidents in production. I think these are also signs of how you adopt and how you increase your velocity in your quality of the engineering organization.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I guess we can take the next question.
Yes, the question was anonymous, so I will voice it. How can you support the champions to enable and empower the rest of their teams to use the tools right, even when people are overburdened with tasks?
I would start by saying that AI adoption is a top priority. I think it is about developing the muscle and exercising like every other new tool or new process. You have to exercise it in order to become by default. And this comes from the top. As engineering leaders in various parts of our organization, we have to send the message of this adoption demand, and then you cherry pick those champions and you put them in the spotlight. You gave them the mic and allow them to show what they're using, what they're doing, and gamify a bit the adoption process, I would say.
Showing, I would add here, like showing the wins, right? Showing the wins, because it's important for people to realize that what they experienced 1 year ago is not valid right now. It has changed a lot. It has evolved a lot, because there is a lot of this part of, oh, I've experienced 1 year ago, it generated crap for me, so I'm not touching it again. It's not right. It's not true. It has evolved a lot, and it's worth taking another shot, I would say, at it.
Yeah, totally. So how do we support champions? Something else that we're doing, we're putting them on the front spot, giving them opportunities to demo whatever they're doing right to the larger organization. And then obviously we do have some gamifying it. We do have some internal ways of proposing them for different programs we run internally, like quality champions or security champions, depending on what they're doing. And these are some of the things we're doing at the platform. But
thank you very much.
Other than that, putting people on the spot and giving them opportunities to shine as we're seeing them increasing the impact.
And also, as you said in the conversation, right? It's okay to fail. It's okay to learn. Let's experiment and let's learn.
Yeah.
Obviously, no. I think there was a question earlier. You triggered me here. Someone was asking, "We're punishing people. How do we punish agents?"
She said that more
If
not
you're in a
line of
safe
code, like the
organization, you
outcome that you give.
punish people. I mean, it's always a learning, and learn to fail fast is a skill per se.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you so much. The time is flying so fast. Thank you so much to our speakers. I think your wisdom was amazing. And I see a lot of gratitude into the chat. Thank you so much for everyone who joined us today from the different cities, different countries, different communities. This is exactly why Leaders in Tech exists, right? To create this type of spaces where engineering leaders and tech experts can exchange ideas and learn from each other. We will continue these conversations because obviously we didn't have the chance to cover all the questions and all your curiosities, which are, by the way, really, really good. I was going through them. AI will evolve quickly, right? But what will matter most is how we as leaders, technical experts, evolve the way our organization work around it. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you so much for putting all the interesting questions. See you to our next events and have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you, everyone. See you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye,
Have a nice
guys.
day.
Thank you. Bye.
You too.